Hey there, it's that time of the month where we like to do our Athens market update. If you follow us on YouTube, you probably know that we do a market update on the Athens area specifically. Then we do one on the national housing market each month, along with various other videos, Georgia prediction contest as well. So if you have interest in Athens area real estate, you're thinking about a move, or you just want to be kept up to date, be sure to click subscribe at the bottom. You'll be given a little notification when we have a new video posted up, and you can follow us for any other updates we might have pertaining to real estate. But today we're going to talk Athens real estate specific to Clark and Oconee County as we do each month. And we're going to come right out and say it. What are the differences in the market today? And are rates going to kill the housing market? Because that's what people are talking about. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but it is Halloween time. It is October, so we might as well address people's fear and go through these numbers. So let's go ahead and get started. As you know, we like to start, we take a look 3 years back. We do Clark and Oconee County. Well, I'm also going to do a little breakout between Clark and Oconee. But we take a look at the past 2 years, and what we're finding out is those 2 years are going to probably be more historic, especially in 2021. So let's go ahead and take a look at the month, year-to-date numbers right now. So total new listings in 2022, 1,757 relative to almost 2,200 same time in 2021. That's almost an 18% change. Days on the market is actually down. And then we've got this average sold price up about 17.5% at 421,000. Going to dive into that a little bit on the next slide for just the month of September because there's a big difference there. Now, the total amount of homes sold, that's also something that's been a big thing I've kept talking about. Less chicken at the barbecue. This doesn't impact you if you're not in the market, but there's so many less transactions, and then that's impacting real estate agents, mortgage brokers. It's also impacting supply and demand. So even with interest rates going up. So we've got a 25% decrease in the total amount of homes sold over last year, and it's still significantly down from 2020, which was a more calm market. So now let's take a look at the month of September, and there's 2020 and 2021. We'll take a look here. The new listings, which is, I thought it was a good sign. We saw 146 new listings over the month of September. There were 160 last year, and you remember last year was a very slow time and a very slow market for new listings. But 206 in 2020, we're down almost 9% right now. Days on market over the month of September continues to be a little bit lower at 29. This is where I've got a big asterisk here, the 486 being the average home sale price in Clark and Oconee County for the month of September. Now, you saw in the last slide year to date, it was 421. We've had a couple really expensive properties that kind of set new bars sell in the Athens area. One of them actually over $4 million, and that sort of created an outlier. To me, that number is not very representative. I think we are probably closer to the 400 mark, maybe even 410, 405 being the average home sale price. But this is the other number right here: 118 homes sold 118 sold in September, which is down 30+% from 2021, and probably even more, as you can see, from 2020. So 194 in 2020, 169, and now we're at 118. So that is a lot less home sales that we're seeing. Going to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about Athens, Clark, and Oconee County because we lump them together, but they actually are two separate markets if you wanted to break them out. As you can see right here, I've got it broken down as the Athens and Oconee, and then I'm going to put out the percentage difference. The total new listings between Clark County and Oconee is 507 to 1250. That's almost a 60% difference in activity in new listings. Days on the market are about the same. And then the average sold price is 587 in Oconee currently to 359 in Clark. And that's almost a 40% difference. So as you can see, Clark County has 121 sales and 384 in Oconee. So what's going on is, yeah, we do have these interest rates, but what we're seeing is some people are being priced out. But unfortunately, some people that still have significant cash on hand or, just a different level of wealth, they're being unaffected by this. And that's really something we wouldn't want to see, but it's sort of a reality. And I just wanted you to kind of see the massive differences between the two counties. Now, this is breaking it out in a bar graph, and you can see we've got 1,372 home sales year to date in 2021, and there's 351 less sales in Clark County. Red is Clark, gray is Oconee. You can see the significant difference of transactions. So there's a misnomer out there about how great the market is in Oconee, and it is strong. The values are strong. There's just not a ton of transactions, and that's why that supply and demand is still going to be a big part of the story, even with rising interest rates. But you've got 351 less transactions this year than you did same time last year in Clark County. That's a lot less going on than we've seen, but it's a little bit closer to 2020, still behind, but a little bit closer. Now we're looking at the new listings by month, and as you see, the blue and the and the green represent the past 2 years. And then for most of the year, starting in May, we started to fall way, way behind on this red line in listings to market. So that has been a big part of the story. What's coming to market, supply and demand, and of course, starting in April around Easter, interest rates. Interest rates have been the biggest part because we are starting to see that have its impacts, and I will discuss it. Now, the other thing that's starting to change a little bit, we started this back in July, the active amount of homes for sale. I'm not tracking the new listings here. This is the amount of homes for sale that are on the market. So as you can see in July, we were down around 120. We came up to around 220 in August. Now September, we're in the 240s. Now, what's going on here is it's not, as you saw in that last slide, we don't have a lot of new listings. It's not that the new listing count's going significantly up. It's that the absorption rate of our homes is slowing down. This is where the market's different. Okay, so picture this. It's March 2020. You thought your house was worth $600,000. And then you thought, well, why can't I ask $650 because the market's been so high? Well, you probably should ask $600,000 because that's what the house was worth. And I'm just using round numbers because our appreciation was going so fast that it had to slow down. And really, the interest rates are working on that. We're seeing some properties, the appreciation is starting to do this instead of what it was doing. So really, what's going on is the Federal Reserve is cooling the housing market. And we're going to have to do some things to help buyers still have their buying power. But it is working because the appreciation is not so far going down. Overall, it's just started to slow down. And in some cases, you might have seen a 10, maybe 7% rollback from the height of it. So let's just use another round number. House got up to $500,000 from 300 and it's on the market for 500. It might be worth 475, 470, might be worth 480. Those are the little subtle differences that are happening, but it's still significantly over that number that I mentioned before, that it went up from 2019. We've talked about this before, but the amount of total sales is also going down. This is, as you can see, we're at one of the lowest points since December, January of almost 2 years ago. And you had 118 home sales, a lot less transactions. And the housing market's a little bit more difficult than you might realize, even though the prices are remaining still very high. This is something I also want to talk about before. Months of inventory. We've talked about this before, that the months of inventory, when it's a balanced market, is 6 months. We want to be way up here, and we're still down here. So we had a low point in June, and you see we came back up in July and August, and I will tell you right here in September, we're at a 2-month supply. But we were really close to having that metric change. If I were to pull that on September 25th, it looked like we had a 3-month supply. So we're about to go up. But the thing is, we're still several months behind on making it a balanced market. And depending on what people are going to do, because these interest rates also impact people's idea of selling or the home buyers, we're doing a lot of different things and trying to help people in ways, you don't listen to the narrative because there's still real estate getting done and people are actually getting rates that are not as high as you're hearing on the news. So let's take a look at the next slide. No, God. All right. That one scared me. Maybe it scared you, but that is Michael Myers of Halloween. And we're going to talk about fear because it's October. This character is my boogeyman. In 1988, my parents went to the George Florida game, and they left me with a babysitter who let me watch the USA Network. I called Halloween 1 and 2. And since that day, Mr. Michael Myers has been a boogeyman, has been the definition of it. And I just, there's been so much fear. And that's also what's going on now between the economy, between inflation, between interest rates. There's all kinds of things that people are worried about. If you remember, let's go back 2.5 years ago. March of 2020, okay, it's COVID. We're scared of that. We're scared of lockdowns. Now we got new strains we got to get scared of. We got to get the vaccine. Political fear, whether you were on one side or the other, both sides are scared of one another. And then you've got the inflation fear, energy crisis, energy cost, a recession's coming, interest rates, the war in Ukraine, hurricanes last week. So my point is, this has always been around. It's been fear for 2+ years. And guess what? We've actually managed through it one way or another, no matter what happened. We started doing videos. We started doing different things in real estate. We saw a challenging market. And the reality is a lot of real estate agents are having a hard time because there are less transactions. So let's not be so fearful because there's some things that we can do to navigate these things. One thing I'm going to talk about coming off of fear is, waiting around to buy a home. There were people that waited around to buy because they thought it was going to crash in COVID. And then they ended up just spending way more money because they were scared to act. Well, if this is something you've got to do, you need to start thinking about what your interest rate is. In our last report, it looked like the news was going to be pretty good and that we were probably going to have more of a modest interest rate climate over the next several months. Then the inflation numbers came out, and then the Fed started saying, no, 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 we're going to raise them and raise them and raise them. So right now, just look at this little difference on a $300,000 mortgage and the differences in cost. I mean, the difference in monthly payment right there, 300, 320, 6%, $257 a month, which adds up over 30 years would be $92,000. Thankfully, people don't, probably aren't going to keep the house for 30 years. But one of the things we're doing is, you might hear the 7% interest rate. Well, that's not really the rates that we're seeing people get for their homes. There's ideas. There's lenders that have different products that you need to learn about, a 10-year ARM that you can lock in for 10 years, possibly having the seller contribute closing costs to help you buy down your rate. So there's a lot of things we can do that can help you navigate, and we're going to continue to do over this time. And I want to end this video kind of bragging a little bit on our group. And I'm going to do that right now because this is our group, 5M Realty, 5 Market, several agents here. Some of our agents are extremely experienced with years of experience. Some of them have less experience, but are also getting help from people like myself, my partner, Jeb, and various other agents. What we do here is we help each other. And that has gone on significantly. Because if you saw before, I said there were 1,405 home sales. 1,405 home sales in Clark and Oconee County. Well, I was just doing the numbers, and in Clark and Oconee County, our little company with that small group of agents accounts for almost 150 of them. That means that in 10% of all the transactions, 10% of every transaction, there's been a 5 Market agent on the buying side or the listing side. And that is a company that's doing a lot of hard work and thinking outside the box. I want to pat our group on the back for that. I want to say congratulations. Thank you for working hard, because that's really doing something. There are 1,400 plus realtors in the Athens Association, and our small group is doing their part, helping their buyers win contracts, navigate the situation, and getting the deals done. Info at 5M Realty. Feel free to reach out to anybody that you need help here at our group, 5 Market. Thank you for staying with us for almost 12 minutes, and we hope you have a great October. And thank you for humoring me on my little Michael Myers slide.